Anybody else think this schedule is weird? Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, presented by Bet365. We got Biggie, we got AJ, we got Rudo coming to you live on another Avalanche off day. You get 2 weeks off, you play back-to-back, and then they give you 2 days off. What kind of scheduling is that? And then they're going to play 2 more regular games and get 3 more days off. It's weird out here, all right?
You know what, man? I'm not about to complain. This upcoming weekend is the last Saturday, Sunday that we have off for the rest of the season.
Fair enough. I'm not gonna. More days off is not a bad thing. It just feels weird. That's all.
No,
that's all
always a positive.
Yeah.
Also, the Avs have led the league in games played for like 3 months, man.
Yeah.
Like, you knew it was going to catch up to you, and it's really the month of March where it does it, where we open with a 3-day break. In the middle, there's a 2-day break, then another 2-day break, then another 2-day break. Like,
they actually
March
get
is
to
going to be
rest
chill.
Occasionally, yeah.
March is going to be chill except for all the back-to-backs. All 2 of them.
You know, could be worse. Could be worse. That's for sure. And positives are something I want to get into on this show for the Avalanche. Look, I'll be the first to admit these last couple of games have had me crashing out over the Avs a little bit. So wanted to flip the script a little bit and at least talk about some positive things. Also wanted to talk about maybe a different angle on the trade deadline and take a look at why Colorado Avs should or shouldn't be someone on people's lists for a place to go. We'll get into all of that. Do want to start with the news of the day or whatever you want to call it. I don't know how much it's news. Val Nichushkin officially an option for Wednesday. So maybe they're getting Val back. I don't actually know for sure, but it does at least feel like he should be close.
Yeah, I mean, not that crazy of a practice, right? More a split practice, D's and forwards, and obviously the Four Nations guys had the day off. So we shall see. We shall see tomorrow morning when, they say if he's in or not. He might even not even say. He might just say game time decision. Who knows, right? Yeah. We'll see what happens. But, hey, listen, if he's in, it's a big boost. It's been a weird year, obviously, for him. But when he's in, the Avalanche are a different team. We all know that. Everyone knows that. Talk to opposition coaches. It's like whenever you do, you're at morning skate. They're like, "Oh, the Big 13's not playing, right?" And then you're like, "No." They're like, "Oh, thank God." You know, I mean, it's true. It's a true fact. I can tell you that every coaching staff that I've talked to this year, they were hoping he's not playing. You know what I mean? Because he can be a difference maker. He can be a difference on special teams. He can be a difference maker on 5-on-5. So when he's a hound dog, when he goes after it, when he's a forechecker like nobody else in the league, then he's very effective. We'll see to what level. I mean, what was holding him back? Is that going to hold him back now, or is he going to just jump right in and fly right in? Hopefully that's what he does. Hopefully he flies right back in there and go from there. And it's certainly going to give you a new different second line if he's in. Absolutely, that's for sure.
This is my question here is if he's a game time decision, he's not ready. And if you have one more game and then you have a 3-day break, just wait. Just don't let him play in these 2 games. That way you get to next week and there's no game time decision. You know that he's good to go. Just what's the point? He's going to be 70%, 60%, whatever number that you want to put on it, I guess. Game time decision, you're not in such dire straits here that you're desperate for every single point. They are becoming pretty important, but I don't know. I'm just I just have this vision of, okay, great, he's going to come back in, he's going to play 6 minutes, and then he's going to shred his groin, and then we're done. and you've got
Yeah.
nothing because you tried to push him just a little bit too hard. And I don't know. Maybe it's just me being too comfortable.
Maybe being uncomfortable. I'm going to throw it right back at you. Maybe that's the thought process they had right after the Four Nations. You know what I mean? Why push it? Let's wait till those 2 games. Then there's 2 days off, that we just experienced here. And
Yeah.
then, you know what I mean? Maybe, because that your thought process is very logical. So maybe that's the approach they took, We'll see. We'll see.
Look, I get it. Certainly, a re-injury for Nichushkin would be very bad for the long-term outlook of the Avs lineup. That's not something you want to risk. But at the same time, and I'm not going to pretend like I know what the injury is, but the guy has gone from he's out 10 days to he's missed 2 months. At a certain point, you also need the guy back, right? Like, the Avs are, sure, in a spot where one more game without Val is fine. But if that's a playoff game tomorrow, he should be playing. At a certain point, you got to get out there and play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
fair enough.
I'm with you. But it just to show you like how nuts the schedule's been with the lack of practices and the lack of now the Four Nations break and then coming back with 4 or 5 guys missing because of Four Nations and not really having those real practices. So like he really hasn't had, and today's not even a real practice because those guys weren't there, and you know what I mean. So he really hasn't had a real practice. You know what I mean when you're thinking about it with everyone around. So we'll see. Hopefully they're making the right decision. I trust them to make the right decision. So that's why I mean that we shall see. What
The real decision here is just seeing how he feels after the practice, right? Like, okay, hey, he's done. He's done his recovery. He's done all of that. Okay, when he wakes up tomorrow, does he feel good? Because if he's good, then I think we're fine. But if it's nagging him, then I think they will exercise that caution that I was talking about. So,
100%.
Well, I'm being kind of a dramatic bitch here, but I'm being kind of dramatic.
It's out there now, buddy.
Yeah.
Once you've said it, you've said it. All right.
I'm being kind of dramatic, but really, like, I think this is fine. It's really just about how he recovers from practice today. If he went full bore, then that's what they were testing.
Not just how he recovered, but I am curious, how do you organize that Avalanche lineup with Nichushkin back? Everybody's saying he's practicing on the second line today. Okay, but the second line center is also Jack Drury, and the top line center was Juuso Parssinen that's practiced because McKinnon's not practicing, McCarr's not practicing. Yeah. You have a bunch of dudes that are not practicing today because they have the day off.
Yeah.
Is Nichushkin slotted in for a second line role? Are you putting him in that Parssinen spot? Colton played there a little bit the other day. Are you moving him to the top line? Are you trying Nate just down on the second line? And where does Parssinen end up in this conversation too? There's a couple of moving parts here.
Coach AJ.
Do you want what I would do or what I think they're going to do?
Can I get both? Yeah.
Okay. So what I think they will do. Yeah. What I think they will do is Nichushkin will come in for Parssinen and Parssinen will just be out of the lineup.
Okay.
He'll just get scratched.
Okay.
That's what I think they will do. What I would do is I would put Nichushkin next to McKinnon and Necas, and then I would go with Lehkonen, Middlestat, Drouin, and then I would do Parssinen, Drury, Colton, Kiviranta, Kelly, and LOC. I would take Miles Wood out of my lineup because he sucks. So that's what I would personally do. But I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. I'd be open to that. I did not know the conversation was heading here, but I do think we are hurtling toward a what do you do with Juuso Parssinen conversation very quickly here.
Yeah, it's going to get louder when they add another forward.
Yeah, for me, I keep him out. That's the guy I take out. I keep Miles Wood in. That's me. Especially here coming up before the deadline. And you know what I mean? Like, all right, let's rock and roll, or changes need to be made. But I keep Miles in there. I take Parsinen out, and I like that. I mean, for me, I agree with you. I put Val up top. He'll be dangerous with those two. And not that he's not a fixer, but Lecky's our fixer. You know what I mean? Like always been our fixer. Uh, Go make him be that fixer there. You know what I mean? Lecky and Girard are always good together in my book. You know what I mean? No, let's just drag down Casey in the fight and let's go. You know what I mean? Let's go and let's go and produce at 5-on-5 and let's go have some fun. And I do believe that that's something they could do. But we all know that again. If you're McKinnon, we all know that he loves playing with Lecky, but he also loves playing with 13 as well, right? You know what I mean? I think he's always enjoyed it, and you can even throw Joe Druin in there, as we know, with your shirt, they're Halifax homies. You know what I mean? Like he does like to, there's a lot you can do there. You know what I mean? And now that you're having an extra body, a real top six body, no offense to Parsinen, but not a real top six, makes a big difference.
I'm sure there's a lot of guys Nathan McKinnon likes playing with. I'm sure he also would like his second line to score a goal this month. So,
for sure.
For the record here, those three together have only gotten 26 minutes together, but they've been 26 really good minutes.
Who's those three?
Middlestat, Duran, and Lehkonen.
Okay, yeah. I like
those
three.
That. Those three together have been nasty. So
I like it. That's the
for
one
the
I
two
like.
games that the Avs had a healthy-ish forward core this season. That's about it. There's 4 games, I guess. They've had their, not even their full lineup, but their full top 6 at least.
Yep.
It would be nice to have that for more than a couple of days for the Colorado Avalanche, that's for sure. The other side of this is they are at home for the next 2 weeks, just about. 6-game homestand here. There are some breaks in it, but realistically, you just had the 2-week break like we talked about, unless you were one of the Four Nations guys, and now you get a nice long homestand. If you can't get healthy and get locked in now, are you ever going to? This runs you essentially right up to the trade deadline. I think they have four games left before the deadline, maybe 5. And then you're in crunch time at that point, certainly. Really, you might already be in crunch time. Like AJ said, it hasn't gotten to the point where the Avs are panicking. It is 4? Okay. So yeah. I wouldn't say it's gotten to the point where the Avs are panicking about missing the playoffs or anything just yet, but the last couple of days have certainly pushed the Avs closer to that edge than they were. So,
yeah, and you have the news of the day that Eriksson Ek in Minnesota is going to be out long term. Kaprizov's out long term. Like the Wild are trying to give up that decimated. Third spot to you, and you're not taking it. But you have a 6-game homestand here. You have to win 4 of these games. The teams aren't very good. Arguably the 2 best teams are New Jersey and Toronto. New Jersey, I think, is really good. The Maple Leafs, I think, are way overrated just because they're in a bad division.
Even New Jersey is quite streaky this year, though. But
yeah, they've gone through their lulls, so put them in one. And with the Avs, I think it has to be a minimum of 4 games. You should really, really be expecting 5 wins out of this 6-game homestand. You should really be expecting 5. You cannot. If you drop another game to Chicago, I don't have anything that I can really do that anybody would want because I already owe the people a Speedo streak down Colfax. So I'm, I'll just be pretty unhappy on the internet like usual. You can't drop that game. It's go time.
I agree.
You just can't drop that game.
Want to get in more to those numbers and talk about why you have reasons to be optimistic about that. But first, we got to pay some bills, as we are brought to you by the folks over at Coors Light. Instead of breaking stuff, sometimes maybe you should choose chill with Coors Light. The mountains on the bottle or the can turn blue to let you know it's ice cold and ready to drink. Whatever the occasion, whether you're sitting at home watching the game out of the DNVR bar, watching some sports, or maybe just having a barbecue, having a party, enjoying yourselves on a Tuesday evening, anytime is a great time to choose chill. And the coolest part is you don't even have to go anywhere. You can go to CoorsLight.com/DNVR to get Coors Light delivered right to your front door thanks to Instacart. Jump in with them. Let them know DNVR sent you over there. Again, that's CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Instacart can deliver Coors right to your house. You don't even have to get up off the couch to do it. Or, if you are out and about anyway, you can find it just about anywhere in the country. So either way it works, make sure you're choosing chill with Coors Light, whatever the occasion. Of course, Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Please drink responsibly. And once you're chilling, make sure you're also taking care of yourself. Obviously you need to unwind, have a beer every once in a while to enjoy yourself, but also you got to be taking care of your health. And that's where UC Health comes in. Whatever it is that you want to work on and be healthier, UC Health can help you out with it. I've lost a ton of weight lately. I know AJ's lost a ton of weight. He's working on his weight. He's down a bunch this year too. So it makes you feel better. You will feel better when you try to be a little bit healthier. You can learn more about living like there is a tomorrow at uchealth.org for more info. UC Health, live extraordinary. Once you're being healthier, make sure you take your time and go read AJ's newest piece, which just posted. If you want the trade deadline details, we got it all. We have a whole trade board for the Colorado Avalanche. It includes videos on every guy on the board. It includes a bunch of in-depth information from AJ that you can read. It's super awesome piece. If you want every possible prep angle for the trade deadline, AJ's got you fully covered on the DNVR.com. So if you're not a diehard, honestly, this piece alone might be worth becoming a diehard for. Make sure you go check it out. Make sure you get in on AJ's trade board piece here. It's super good stuff. All right. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Look, I think there's plenty of reason for pessimism about the Avs, but I wanted to remind myself as much as anyone else, there's also plenty of things to be optimistic about in Colorado. Not least including, oh, by the way, they still have the leading scorer of the NHL on their team. Oh, by the way, Cale Makar just became the third fastest defenseman ever to reach 400 points. So, yeah, are there flaws with this Avalanche team? Absolutely, but let's not pretend like they don't have one of the highest ends in the NHL, right? My question is, how much can you rely on these guys? Do you think you can rely on the Avs' true top superstars enough to get them to where they need to be? Now, sure, they need help at the trade deadline. You need to add some stuff there. Do you think their top end guys are there and ready to drag them into the playoffs or drag them on a deep run kicking and screaming?
Yeah, I mean, that has to be the case. If your tip top guys aren't doing it for you, you're not winning a Stanley Cup.
True.
You look at Florida last year. Did Florida win the Stanley Cup because when their tip top guys weren't their best players? No, of course not. The Vegas the year before, Jack Eichel goes crazy in the postseason. They win a Stanley Cup. Those are the guys that you pay the money. Those are the guys you build around for a reason. It starts with them. They have to be special. In this regular season, they have been. But when we're talking about a playoff run, you need 4 lines. You need 3 pairings. You need a goaltender, maybe even 2, if you're going to actually get through all 4 rounds. Yes, you need that. But it starts with the dudes at the top. And that's, these teams have this great depth, that great depth. I'm sorry, but it starts with your best players. Every single team that wins a Stanley Cup, it starts with the guys at the top.
Always been, always will be. Cream rises to the top. That's just the way it is. And the beauty of our guys here is they've always delivered. You know what I mean? They've always delivered. From the days of Sakic Forsberg to the days of Makar McKinnon now. You're right. You're bang on. The way I like to say it all the time, I use those simple words: is your top end guys will make you win, 100%. Your depth would help you win. You know what I mean? And one or the other can't go without one or the other. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't work. So every championship team, those secondary guys usually have a big say in it because they're helping those main guys to make them win. You know what I mean? And I think that's what you're seeing a little bit here. And I think there's some guys that are a little bit unknown right now on the Avalanche side of things. On can those depth guys help you win? You know what I mean? Like Val, last two playoffs. We're not going to go back to it, but just it didn't happen. You know what I mean? Devon Tays, I'm trying to go back. I'm talking about the secondary guys. Right? You know what I mean? Where are they at? You know what I mean? And then obviously, then your bottom six. You know what I mean? Like, what can you do? And I mean, if we want to, that's what we can get into it too. A little bit on. Do we think they can do it, or do we think they can't do it? You know what I mean? I think that's where we're at.
I mean, let's be honest. The way they're constructed today, I don't think they can do it. Post-trade deadline, depending on what they do, I think there's a reasonable world where they could do it. Of course, that depends on how things go. That depends on injuries. There's a million factors that we just don't know in that regard. But I'm certainly not in a place where I'm just writing off the season or anything like that.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask you guys, and I know this is a weird question a little bit, but when's the last time you felt this confident in the Avs starting goaltender? And I know the immediate answer is Darcy Kuemper, but you have to remember, even in Kemper's case, when you get to that playoffs and he gets that eye injury, there was some doubt there. Are you that confident in Blackwood? I'm certainly very confident in Blackwood, probably more than I ever was with Grubauer. Obviously, the last couple of years have been an adventure in net for the Avs. Is that a stabilizing factor that the Avs can at least build off of right now?
I honestly feel the same way that I did today that I did 2 years ago in Georgiev's first year, because I know how it ended, but I think it's gotten lost that Alexander Georgiev kicked ass his first season in Denver.
For sure.
He was so good that first season, and it provided all kinds of confidence that he was going to do well. We were, oh man, another huge steal. We got him for draft picks. We did such a great job. Oh my God, C-Mac and Joe did it again. Remember that? It was good that first year, and he was good in that Seattle series. He wasn't the problem there. And I think that I think that we've kind of gotten lost a little bit because it ended so badly. But Kuemper, Georgiev's first year, this year, felt good about that goaltending in all of them. But I understand your overarching point here. It feels nice to not think about it every day. It feels nice to just not be like, oh my God, can he? We're having the same conversation right now about Blackwood that we are with that we did with Georgiev his first year. Okay, great, he's having a good year. We're really comfortable here, but what's going to happen in the playoffs? Because we know that the playoffs chew up and spit out goaltenders more than any other position. It shines a big spotlight. Connor Hellebuyck's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday, and until he does it in the playoffs, we all just kind of shrug and go, yeah, so?
Yep, it's true.
So, we're looking at it, and with Blackwood, I'm comfortable, man. He looks good. He's solid. I didn't think he was great in the St. Louis game. I thought he was fine. Didn't have a big
second goal was pretty tough for sure.
Yeah, the second one he created basically, but the other two, zero help. And then ultimately, it doesn't matter. They scored once.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Break, dude.
So far from being the Avs problem lately.
Yeah, on your list of problems, Mackenzie Blackwood's not even on it anymore. Yeah. Goaltending. Your top 5 Avalanche problems. Goaltending isn't even on it, and unless you're just saying unproven in postseason, and at that point it would be 5. So yeah, when it comes to goaltending, brother, I'm cozy.
Here's what I'll say about it. If you go back to the Cup run, go back. I did so many radio shows and everything, and for me, Kemper was my guy. You know what I mean? Like he was I was working with Calgary at the time. We went after him hard too. Same thing. Ended up signing Markstrom because the acquisition cost was nothing as a UFA, and Kemper we had to give what the Avs gave. I would have been comfortable doing exactly what the Avs did, which I'm trying to remember. Was that Timmins, the first, whatever it was? I don't remember who was
Didn't put a
involved
first
in that
and a
deal.
third.
First, yeah, there you go. I would have done the same thing. Now, I never got nervous with Kemper in there. I'm not telling you he was the greatest. I'm just telling you that I felt comfortable enough where he would get the job done. He's doing the job pretty good right now in LA, to be honest with you. The best home record team in the NHL right now. This guy's playing pretty good this year. Now, with that said, I feel more comfortable with the Avalanche goaltending this year. Going back, rewinding the tape, I like Mackenzie Blackwood better. And for me, Wedgwood is kind of like a Frankie, good team guy, good secondary guy, actually great secondary guys. You know what I mean? That that if something happens, you're not out of in a tough position. They're guys that can come in and help out, just like Frankie did that run. I feel good. I feel better than I did back then with Mackenzie, and I was a big Kemper fan. So that shows you how much I feel about goaltending. I feel good. I feel very comfortable. And Darcy Kemper in the playoffs had never really done anything, besides that bubble thing or whatever it was. I'm trying to remember. It was a weird thing.
Yep.
Who knows? But then again, I feel good. I think for me, this is a position of strength right now. And A+ for CMAC and company and the rest of the staff for going out and fixing it in season, in movement. Changed the flat tire on his bicycle without even getting off the seat. That's pretty amazing what these guys did. Pretty amazing.
They might not be done yet either. There might be more work to do there. I wanted to throw a couple of stats at you because I do think this has flown under the radar because people have honed in so much on the Avs' offensive wildness. It's you can say lack of goal scoring. It's certainly true since the start of February, but it's also a team that when they do score in a game, they tend to score 4 or 5 in their wins. So it's a little bit weird, but it kind of gets swept under the rug how good the Avs have been defensively, I think, in this stretch. Since January 1st, the Avs are a top 10 team in goals against per game, giving up just 2.62 goals a game. And then they're even better when it comes to actual possession metrics. Shots against per game, the Avs are top 5 in the NHL, giving up just 25.5 shots a game. So really, defensively, this is a team that's not giving up very much and is getting pretty good goaltending through a stretch of hockey where they have not played their best, but it's something to lean on is pretty decent play on that side of the ice for the Avs.
Yeah, if you want to get into the fancier things, the expected goals against per 60 since January 1st, they're 5th in the NHL.
That's good process, man. At least on that side of the ice.
Yeah, and offensively, they're 18th in expected goals for per 60. So defensively, they've gotten significantly better at protecting the house, and they've gotten a lot worse at generating pressure.
Yep. The offensive issues are obvious as of late. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or advanced statistics to tell that, but I do think it is important. And you go back to that Buffalo game where I think we all felt like they did a lot of things well. They just didn't win the game because they didn't do the one thing that mattered the most. So if you can get even a little bit more consistent on the offensive side for this team and keep playing the same way outside of this Blues game, which was horrible, but you look at some of their losses over this stretch, a lot of those games you don't feel that bad about their process, right? There's just one very clear glaring issue where you got to score more than one goal. Okay.
Yeah, I just we're talking up the defense here, but the one thing that's, since we're talking about since January 1st, how good they have been, the one thing that they continue to struggle with, and this is struggle relative to their own success, not relative to the league, is allowing high danger chances.
Sure.
They are still middle of the pack since January 1st in how many they allow, but their scoring chances are 5th best. So it's not that they allow so many chances, it's that the ones that they allow are usually pretty good.
Getting the
And that's their
0.7
problem.
expected goals off of those
Yeah,
chances.
exactly.
I got a thought. I know you got to pay bills, but I got a thought right after.
Okay, we'll get to E's thought in a second. Drive on over to it with a Toyota. The Toyota is the official vehicle of the DNVR Avalanche Pod and the entire DNVR site. So make sure you're getting yourself in one. They have tons of different options for everybody. 17 vehicles with all-wheel drive to get you through the snow, or if you're going off-roading, or if you just like that security on the road for your everyday drive. They've also got 16 different hybrid vehicles, so you can save money on gas and spend it on whatever you want. Maybe you're a weirdo like me that likes to collect Pokemon cards now. Extra money because it's a hybrid from Toyota. Go in with Toyota wherever it is. They have a vehicle for everybody. Trucks like the Tundra, SUVs like the 4Runner, sedans like the Corolla, you name it, Toyota has you covered. And they're not just the official vehicle of us at DNVR, they're the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche too. So jump on over to your local Toyota dealership, including AutoNation Toyota, Rapo, Centennial, Corbin Toyota, Boulder, Groove Toyota, Littleton, Mountain State Toyota, Denver, Stevenson, Toyota, Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places. All right. We are also brought to you by the folks over at LiveWell. All right. LiveWell keeps it simple. They just want to make sure you are getting access to cannabis and living well. It really is that simple. You can order online at livewell.com, or you can go in store to any one of their locations in Colorado, where they have 25, I think, in Colorado. A lot of options. Use code DNVR25 in store. You get 25% off any one regular priced item, and they've got it all. Their professional staff will help you pick out the right product for you. Topicals, flower, joints, vapes, you name it. They've got it all when it comes to Live Well. So make sure you're getting over there. Make sure you're using the DNVR25 code. Again, livewell.com, LIVWELL, to order for in-store pickup. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. E, jump in.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is, and I think you hear that in championship locker rooms, champion-minded locker rooms, is taking care of the details on the backside of things, does not mean that you have to sacrifice offense. You know what I mean? And there's a misconception sometimes there that people think like, well, yeah, but they play so tight defense. No, pay attention to details. Listen to what the thought process is as a team, which we all know the Avalanche is quick outs and north-south and, like obviously puck-moving guys and jump up in the play and always being out there as the back end really helps you off the rush chances, But the Avalanche, like, as much as they fixed their back, like you said, they're fifth in the league now. You know what I mean? In that span. But I don't want people to think like, oh, because they did that, now they can't score anymore because now they don't think about playing offense. There's nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? Those are two separate things in my book, where on the Avalanche, on the forward side of things, scoring goals, it just, there's some guys that are just not doing what needs to be done. Like, we'll get to it, but, like being greasy and getting to doing the details, it's just the same thing. Get back to the details on the offensive side of the puck, and you'll see you'll have results. It's just, it was like that 100 years ago. It will be like that 100 years from now. It's funny how you just tighten up. You're doing the right things on the defensive side of things. Now the results are there. Now you just have to go and do it on the offensive side of the things, and then that doesn't mean that you let go of one or the other, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you can't play good defense because now all you think is offense. Of course, if you're all out and you have no idea what you're doing up front, and you're like some of those teams out there that are bottom of the league and in the standings, and there's no rhyme or reason to what they're doing. Yeah, of course, your goal differential will be minus 50 right now, and you're struggling. No crap. You know what I mean? But I think that there's no correlation between the two. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it, and I think, once we get to the forwards there, we can talk about it, but there's a little bit of lack of greasy, being a dirt bag. You know what I mean? They're missing that part.
I'm sidetracking us just because I was curious about this, but I see the chat talking about Sam Girard. Since 2017, since this version of the Avs has regularly made the playoffs, Of defensemen, Sam Girard has the 23rd most points of defensemen in the playoffs since 2017. The idea that he's not a playoff defenseman is crazy to me. Obviously, Sam Girard has limitations as a player. Yes, he's small. Yes, if you're asking him to win a net front battle, he's going to lose. But the idea that he just isn't a playoff defenseman is crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, and you know that it's driven by, they won the cup in 22 because he got hurt. Like that, propelled them forward.
Sure.
Okay.
It's fine. Whatever. We don't need to give this any more oxygen.
Agree.
Look no further than last year when he was gone for 25 games, whatever it was, 30 games. Boy, oh boy, we miss Sam Girard. And that's where Sammy is a legit player in the National Hockey League. And listen, I will confirm to you, and I'm telling you, 32 teams out of 32 would take Sam Girard. Yes, absolutely.
No doubt about it. Anyway, we can get back on topic here.
We're going to pretend that Jack Johnson over Sam Girard was the key to them winning the Stanley Cup in 2022. My God, dude.
So it's a crazy world we live in out here. I did want to shift gears a little bit, though, and talk about this. And this is a bit of a weird topic in season. It's arguably more important in the off season, but things like this do happen and do matter. Take a look at the Claude Giroux deal a couple of years ago. He wanted to stay out east. He really only picked a few specific teams that he was willing to go to. And this happens every year with some big name guys at the deadline of they pick their locations and that's where they go. And honestly, teams can get a great deal on a great player if they're one of the places that player is interested in going. My question for you is, are the Avs a destination for guys like that? Are players interested in coming to Colorado? And if not, how do they become one?
I don't really know why they wouldn't be. They play a style that players like to play. And they're going to be in the postseason every year, and they're going to be competing, and they've got guys in their locker room who have been leaders on a championship team. So what's the issue here? Like, I understand geographically, if you're from out east, you're not necessarily interested in going out west, or if you want to go back to Canada, or if you have a geographical preference, then that could play a meaningful role. But otherwise, what are we talking about? What's the downside?
I mean, I don't think there is. I mean, I think it's always been a destination, especially now, you know what I mean, where, who doesn't want to play with 29 or 8? You know what I mean? Like, honestly, like, I'm not sure who doesn't want to do that, you know what I mean? And look at the last couple of years, like the Rodriguez and Drouins, and, you know what I mean? Like, they know that if they come in here, it's going to fix a little bit of where their career's at. And then, if they have to move on, then you have to move on. But obviously Joe didn't move on, Drouin. But I do believe that, it's a great, first of all, destination. We were talking about the city and the sunshine and what a great sports town this is. So, and they're winners. The management that's in place has won. The coaching staff that's in place, that's won. The leadership core that's in place has won. Right there, if I'm a player, this is, that's where I want to go. Now, do they have the best facilities in the world? No, I mean, that doesn't matter. It's somewhere, somehow, it's fine. But they're treated right and they're treated with respect. They have great ownership. Again, great president, great GM, so and a great coach. So for me, you're treated the right way. You're certainly not a laughing stock on that side of things. Away from the rink, and you have Denver, and you have superstars. So for me, that is a place where, if I'm a free agent, if I'm a guy that's getting traded, again, Mackenzie Blackwood gets traded there. How long did it take? 2 weeks, and he signs his deal? No crap. You know what I mean? Because I want to be here. You know what I mean? And I want to be part of those guys. And I love it. And this is my break, and this is my shot. And it came on my lap, and I'm grateful for it. So yeah, I mean, for me, this is an outstanding destination for people like that. Absolutely.
Where where I think things get more interesting, and I think Blackwood is a good shout too. Yeah, look, obviously everyone would love to play with Nathan McKinnon. Everyone would love to play with Cale Makar. But AJ, you also kind of alluded to this of there is a bit of a Colorado Avalanche bump. Even now, when you look at this season, Mackenzie Blackwood is putting together the best season of his career by a good margin. There are downsides right now. There are guys that are struggling to perform in the Avs lineup, and yet you still have a Yoel Kiviranta who's having the best season of his career in Colorado. Sure, but it's still true.
It's true. I'm sorry. It was just instinct.
And that's my point. Like, you don't have to come into Colorado and be a superstar, well-established guy to say, hey, Colorado's going to get the most out of me. You can be a Yoel Kiviranta and they'll find a way to make you an effective player. You can be an Evan Rodriguez you mentioned earlier, and they'll find a way to make you an effective player. You can be, if you're more than that, or you believe you're more than that, Drew, yeah, like that's with Drew, and this is more of a, hey, we're not just going to make you an effective player. We think we can get you to be the player that everyone thought you were. Honestly, this goes all the way back to like Eric Johnson era, even, where you're talking about Colorado bringing in guys with high upside that maybe haven't lived up to the hype, and they don't have a perfect track record. It hasn't worked every time. But when you look around the league, the Avs are one of the most successful organizations in reclamation projects in the NHL over the last decade-ish.
Well,
Val?
I
Did
think
you say Val?
this point.
Yeah.
Sorry, you said Val.
I mean, I think this point is probably why we're watching Ross Colton and Casey Middlestat this year in particular and going, what the hell is going on? The Avs have not had to live through this level of underperformance in a long time. You know, when with Ryan Johansson, you were
Good
like,
point.
this isn't really underperformance as
Just
much
who he
as
was,
it is.
yeah.
This guy physically can't do this anymore, and it's very obvious.
Yep.
So, you know, you see the struggles that they've gone through this season with some of these depth guys, and is it like is it a big problem under the hood? Is it an overarching thing, or is it just this is just something that happens every year?
Yep.
Guys will have a guy or two will have a bad year. You combine Ross Colton having a really weird injured season, that like he was on fire, right, to an unsustainable degree. Gets hurt, comes back. He's not going to rebuild that momentum. He doesn't, and then he underperforms from there. Casey Middlestat has a great start to the season, underperforms from there, and this is just stuff that happens sometimes. And is this we need to move all these guys out? Are we done here? Are these guys finished as useful players? Or is this just something that we just have to live through? Because start of next season, you could see some of these cats come out and, oh, hey, look, they're really good again. They're really solid. And it's just, I think that's the challenge is which one of these guys underperformance is real. Like Ross Colton is a guy I'm not buying is real. I'm buying that there's a regression coming, that he's going to pile up a bunch of points in the month of March, and it's a lot better. BC Middlestat, it's definitely, you're looking at the stylistic issues that when he arrived that we talked about could be a downfall for him, have been so far this year. They've really held him back in Colorado from breaking out, or at least even just repeating last season. So, but it's not like you're looking at a whole lot of guys here that have been going through it. It's just you combine a couple of important players underperforming with the nonstop injury issues. I repeat, 4 games in which their top 6 forwards have been healthy this entire season. 4 games. And so you combine the never-ending injury issues with just a couple of key underperforming players, and it's a recipe for, they're not winning 50 games this year. They're going to win 42 games, and they're going to sneak into they're going to be one of the wild card teams, and they might they might be an absolute nightmare for that team come round one, depending on what they do at the deadline, whatever. Or we could end up looking back and going, this is a transition year. This is the year where they pull the plug on Josh Manson. They move on from Casey Middlestat, whatever, right? But it's really like, it feels like death right now because the bad has been bad. It's really not that bad.
I agree.
I mean, it's important to recognize that, right? Because I'm not saying there aren't issues that need to be fixed in Colorado. There are absolutely fixable problems that they need to get better in certain categories, and that's on them, full stop. But also, if you're looking at these stretches of hockey from Ross Colton, if you're looking at these stretches, honestly, I think even from Casey Middlestat, though maybe less so, if you are taking what is arguably, in Colton's case at very least, the worst stretch of hockey in his career since returning from that injury. And if you're saying that's who he is, that's just as bad as looking at the first month of the season when Ross Colton scored 10 goals in 12 games and saying that's who he is. Both are ridiculous. He's actually somewhere in the middle of that. It's just they haven't been able to find that middle ground with enough guys this season.
It is. And like, you look at Logan O'Connor, no points in 13 games, right? He does this every year. He goes through this glacial stretch, and then he'll pile up 5 points in 7 games, and by the end of the year, he'll have 26 points or something, and you'll go, for a guy that's on your third or fourth line, that's exactly what I want. Thank you.
Yep.
But sometimes there are going to be stretches where you get there. It's not like you could just point it out and go, okay, well, all right, well, Logan O'Connor is going to have 2 points every 6 games the entire year to get where he needs to go, you know, like
it's not reality. Yeah,
exactly. It's just not the way this goes. Your guys go through these stretches. Eric, I know your career had some of those crazy ups and downs. What is it like when you're in a Ross Colton like slump?
I tell Rudo all the time. I tell you all the time. Like, I used to have a graph, like, you know what I mean, like a little notebook. 10 game segments. That's where it doesn't come from management. It comes from when I was a player. And I used to look at it and know exactly, because my goal was, again, if you're playing 6 minutes a night, that's not playing. Okay. That you got to find another way to help out. But if you're playing 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes a night, I used to look at it where I got to at least score 2 every 10. You know what I mean? And if I score 1 in that 10 game segment, I need 3 that next one. And that's how you keep pace. You know what I mean? Because you got to challenge yourself. You got to push yourself. And you got to remember, if you're not getting those power play minutes, it's tough sometimes to get back on track. You know what I mean? Because that is the nicest way to get back on track, is when you get a little power play goal there, a little empty net area, you feel good about yourself. Then all of a sudden you snap out of a slump and then you keep going. But when you're not getting those penalty minutes, you got to go out there and manufacture some offense. And you got to figure out to produce, and you got to figure out. And for me, going back to my Avalanche days, it was more, I got to help out Sakic and Forsberg. Those guys are, they're the stars. Yeah, they got all the limelight and they make the bigger salaries and all that stuff. But it goes to the pressure that you have to go through, because you need to produce. And you need to produce not like once in a while. You got to produce every night. McKinnon has a rough night, and the next day we're like, well, I mean, you would think he didn't do anything last game, right? You know what I mean? We don't say that about Kibiranta. We don't, right? You know what I mean? We just don't. And that's hard. So I think it comes sometimes with, and it's an easy market to play in. There's no pressure like in Montreal or whatever. Like, boy, oh boy, you go 15 games with a bagel, you're going to hear about it. I'll tell you that. You know what I mean? And when I say hear about it, you're going to hear about it. And this is, for me, you just got to be able to all of a sudden get back to basics. And that's what I used to always hear, and I've heard guys say it all the time. It's like, go back to basics. You know what I mean? Do the little things right, and you will get rewarded. You know what I mean? Somewhere, somehow. You have to. You're getting on the ice. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting on the ice. You're getting ice time. It has to turn. And you just got to get back there and put the working boots on, strap the helmet on, tighten it up, you know what I mean? And just go. And you can't let it roll. And you got to stay positive. And sometimes, obviously, we're all humans. You get to be negative, but I think you just have to look and focus on the next shift coming up. Because too many times, especially when you're young And that doesn't apply to those older guys. And that's how you achieve consistency is you look back on your last shift on the game and you're like, oh, I should have done this, should have done that. At the end of the day, it's not important. What am I doing next? What am I doing next? And that's what you got to focus on. The next day when you go look at the video and you sit down after your shower with one of the assistant coaches and you look at your shifts, you can go back. During the game, you can't go back. It won't solve anything. It just doesn't. It's never worked that way in life, and it never will work that way.
So let me ask you guys this. For the Avalanche, how much adversity is too much adversity this season? Because when you're breaking up this season, look, the start of the year, we knew what it was. The first 20 or so games, we understood the Avs injuries. We understood the question marks about the Avs and goal. We kind of knew what that part of the season was going to look like. Yeah, exactly. So that was on the table. We were ready for that. They've continued to kind of get punched in the gut at times, sometimes self-inflicted, sometimes injuries out of their control, whatever. Is this still a team that can take this adversity and build something out of it this season, or has it just been continued survival?
Isn't that the fear? If you're one of these teams that they're going to get the wild card spot, you're Edmonton, Vegas, Dallas, Winnipeg.
The galvanized Avs team is there.
Yeah, isn't that the fear is that they get healthy in game 77? The trade deadline is over. They're finally like, okay, great. You know, we're healthy. We have our lineup. We've made our moves. This is who we are right now. This is the group that we have. Let's go to work. And then they get into the postseason and they actually open the postseason healthy. And they're like, hey, we just get to play hockey for the first time all year. We're not talking about who's not there. We're not looking at a guy in our lineup that is completely overmatched. Like, isn't that the fear? Since this is a show about positivity, like, isn't that what other teams are afraid of? Is that they hit their stride at game 77, and all of a sudden you're looking at them in the Western Conference Finals going, huh, remember back in February when we thought this was death because they lost back-to-back games in Nashville and St. Louis? And we were trying to get rid of everybody and all the underperformance that we've been obsessing over stopped happening? Like, right? Like, isn't that what the other teams are afraid of?
If you're the Avs, you'd much rather get hot at the end of April than at the end of February. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. If you have a bad stretch of injuries, of losses, of bad play, of slumps like some guys are having, get him done early. Don't get him done in April. Don't go through them in April, or May or June or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you want to get them done now. And you're right, AJ. And I'll tell you what struck fear into a lot of teams. It was that November, whatever it was, or was it December, when they fixed the goaltending. And I'll tell you one thing, right there, and you could feel it at Ball Arena in the morning, like I said, interacting with the other teams and management and coaches and stuff like that. You're like, you can feel it. They're like, oh crap. You know what I mean? Like, okay, now they got goaltending. You know what I mean? And I think you saw it for a bit there. They went on that run of 9-1 in 10 games or whatever it was. And again, and then injuries took over again, and inconsistency took over. And now you had that Four Nations break, and whatever. As you're starting to pick up again, 4-1 the last 5 before the break. And then you're right. Now you stumble sideways. You knew your main guys. And people are saying, like, yeah, but with the top end guys, like, if they're not on top of their game, well, usually the Avs don't win. No, we all know that. That's for that's just the way the Avs are built. They're built with the top end guys, and they usually perform. One's leading the league in scoring, and the other one is the third fastest, like Rudo said, to 400 points in the history of this beautiful game and beautiful players that have played all those years. So pretty scary. They're built that way. But yes, the problem has been underneath a little bit right now, and then they got to figure out the right mix. And I was telling AJ earlier today, 96-01, 1.0 guy, Avalanche 1.0. There was a lot of trades. There was a lot of guys coming in and getting traded, and good players, that just weren't fits and didn't end up being there in that 01 Cup. You know what I mean? Myself included. God, missed both. Not a big deal. But I'm just saying the right mix wasn't there until they found the right mix. and then they figured it out, and then went on to go out and win a second cup. This group, you know what I mean? They have it in them. The Lekkonens and Tays and as secondary guys, and the Natushkin, and now you've added Druin, we believe is a big piece. You've added those guys. And now is Casey one of the? It's up to you. Do you want to be part of this piece? You want to be part of this?
Yeah.
Solution. And then figure it out. You know what I mean? And again, we don't think it has been that bad, but some people think, and we respect everybody's opinion, that it's been bad. That's fair. We're not here to, but I don't think it's been that bad. You know what I mean? I think the experiment's been decent. Last year in the playoffs, he was good, and all that kind of stuff. It's just been up and down.
And that last comment is a little bit of the Avs' secret weapon. You look up and down the Avs lineup for playoff performance, and this team is freaking scary in the playoffs, man. Obviously, McKinnon and Makar and the top guys are ridiculous, but even you look down that lineup, Middlestat was nails in the playoffs for them last year. If you think he can,
good.
Yeah, Jonathan Druin was hurt for most of the playoffs last year, but one of the favorite excuses I see of all the Avs players racked up points against Winnipeg, and then when it came down to Dallas, Jonathan Druin had a point in every single game he played against Dallas, with only 3 because of his injury, but for the games he got in, he was producing in that second round. Val Nichushkin, obviously the off-ice stuff is there, but when he's in the lineup, he is a freaking monster in the playoffs. He played, 10 games in the playoffs and nearly led the playoffs in goal scoring last year? This team is scary in the playoffs.
I mean, and even if you
can it all come together? Can it coalesce?
That's right.
Because
one
of the things that I know we're running out of time, but I make this point every single year. People who are hyper focused on the one team that they root for should try to pick up a second team, and they will quickly learn these are not unique to teams.
Yep.
Colorado not being able to get all of their guys to come together and all be healthy at the same time, that is a normal thing. Everybody goes through some of this. Colorado has been particularly hit with it at times in the last couple of years. It has been worse than other clubs. But if you just think they're going to go through 4 playoff rounds, they didn't do it in 22 when they won the cup. Andrei Burakovsky broke his hand and his foot. Yep. Nazem Kadri had his thumb broken because Evander Kane's a shit. They just, you have to be able to fight through some of that, but it is also a very normal thing to go through.
Yep. Yeah.
Outside of the Nichushkin thing. Which
Cogliano broke his thumb that year. Yeah. Nichushkin was playing on a broken foot that year. There's a lot of stuff they were fighting through, put it to you that way.
Yeah, and last year, obviously Val, but then Drew, that was a big loss. And then, O'Connor right before the playoffs, that was a big loss. I mean, there was a lot of struggle last year injury-wise as well, you know what I mean? And I do believe, and I think, was it AWolf or how do we say it? AWolf?
Yeah.
AWolf. Can it all come together? I just don't see it happening. I respect that opinion. I do. I really do. You know what I mean? It's a legit concern.
It doesn't come together for 31 teams, so
no, that's true. No, but it's a legit concern. And again, I was concerned last game. You know that. You listen to the pod, red flags everywhere. Very disappointed, very moody, very mad, like you. Very negative. But I do believe it will all come together. That's just my thoughts.
I do believe we're about to head into overtime. If you're watching us on one of your television channels, we do have to wrap up the show, but it will continue over online at ddnvr.com. So go check us out there. A couple of things before we fully sign off here. 1, Roast My Rosters. It's happening next Monday, March 3rd. Maybe a little bit early, but Thursday, Friday, this weekend, make sure you're getting your Roast My Roster things in on Puckpedia. Go put them there. Call them DNVR, whatever. You know the drill if you've done this before.
Just make sure DNVR is in the title. Otherwise, we're skipping it. We won't look at it at all.
Yep. So DNVR has got to be in there. We'll take a look at them. We'll bring you our crazy trade rosters to roast as well. It's always a fun time. Maybe the Rizzler will make an appearance. We'll see. Those are always fun. Number 2, I'm going to say it again because you really do need to go check out AJ's trade deadline board piece. Go look at that. It's a ton of content. Even if you're not a reader, we have videos on every single guy too. So there's something for everybody in that piece. Make sure you go check that out. Looks like we did get one late super chat here from Tyler $5 who says, what happens first? Avs trade number 37 or Rudo trims that beard? I keep saying it's going to go soon, and then I keep not trimming it, but eventually I'm going to shave the thing.
Does it count for them to trade a 37 if they trade for a 37?
Ryan O'Reilly was a 37.
There you go.
Maybe we leave that question a little open-ended. Look, Colorado is in a frustrating place right now. I think I have more concerns than I was, well, certainly more concerns than I was wanting, but maybe even more concerns than I was expecting to have at this point in the season. But that does not mean that all is lost by any stretch of the imagination. They're still in a playoff spot as we speak right now. They're still a hockey team that's capable of being very good. They just have to go out and be that team. Any final thoughts from you guys before we get out of here?
It's a positive day, so I'll keep my hater energy for tomorrow.
Okay, great. Love that.
I'm sticking. You know what? I'm sticking to my guns. They're coming out of the West. They are.
I hope you're right. We are going to wrap up the show there. We appreciate everybody hanging out. I will say this. You're allowed to feel how you want to feel, fan how you want to fan. I just did want to balance it out. I know I've been super negative for the last couple of days, so I wanted to give a little bit of a look at the positive side of things and try and give it a fair shake. We are going to call it, though. Thank you for watching. This has been the DNVR Avalanche Podcast presented by Bet365.
The mayor